We are online. Welcome, everybody. Psychologically, you have to have the confidence in yourself, and this confidence should be based on fact. What are facts in today's world? What's a fact? All right, anyone. Anyone. Fact. Facts are now in this dystopian reality we live in. Bobby Fischer. Facts are up for debate. George Orwell. What you see with your own eyes and your own ears may be not real, according to the authorities. All right, Astrobate, what's up? We got a Dutch defense for game number 1. Follower update. Someone on sound is alive. That's good. We still have yet to hear from Mr. Slow, who I think is still alive, but has not made it to the stream yet in the near. So good to know someone on sound is back with us. This game is Astrobate with Black. We've got Nefedov versus Beatles, which is interesting point of contention from a game I had with Nefedov on Tuesday, or was it the Simul? Maybe Simul, I can't remember. And then Sun Prism with an over-the-board game he sent me before Christmas. We haven't had an analysis stream in a couple of weeks. So those are the 3 to start. In addition, I think this is our analysis stream, everybody. So subscribers are welcome to submit a game. Man NPC, I don't know if you sent in anything. Who else? Morales? No. Mule Skinner recently had sent in games. I'm not sure. I might have missed someone. I have the feeling that someone sent me a game, but I don't remember who it was. Maybe I lost the submission somewhere in the process. I was going through my messages here, but the Lichess, if there's one thing they need to improve on Lichess, it's probably the messaging system. All right. Let's do it. So Astrobate, first game of the day. Guys, let's gift some subs, get some action. How do I get rid of this stuff at the top? What is at the top here? Collapse. I don't want to collapse. You collapse. All right, gift a subscription. Where's my count? Count Chocula. It was Simul. On Tuesday, I almost pulled Unpullable Tactics. Your game on Tuesday with Panbook was also very interesting, although a different opening. So, Nefedov is here early. Wow. Never seen you here this early. Nefedov is second, and then Sun Prism. As usual, warm up with Astrobate. No Mr. Slow thus far, 2026. Welcome everyone to 2026. I don't think I have a cold, but I inhaled some dust particles that are causing me to sound like I have a cold. Alright. Hopefully we're not sick. We got Astrobate first game. Welcome Nefedov. Jan Cologne, sorry. Jan Cologne. Christopher Cologne. Cristobal Cologne. So D4, F5. Astrobate playing the Dutch. I've been working on the Benko Gambit, and I like it. Never played the Benko really much, but it's fully playable. Might give it a whirl. Dutch harder to play. Astrobate is... He's been adopting this, and... well, it's not his first opening, so... It's not his first, rodeo, but... Dutch is not easy to learn. So, opponent plays knight f3. And black playing knight f6, of course, and now e3. So this is like Mr. Coffee, French e3 poison style setup, quiet Kali style setup against the Dutch. Not that bad, actually. And so black has a really kind of classical and rather enormous choice about how to develop this this bishop on f8. Check. Do you want to go g6 or do you want to go the other way? I mean, I think in this instance, yeah, most players are going with g6. But the other way to go here would be to play a kind of Queen's Indian. Queen's Indian style setups with b6. It's possible that b6 is inaccurate because of like c4 and d5 here. So even if you want to set up with the Queen's Indian defense based on b6, bishop b7, it's probably best to go e6 first, and then see if white's going to play c4 or what their deal is basically. But there's nothing wrong with what you did. Okay, normal Leningrad style setup here with g6. I also want to mention that another idea that's playable against g6 is like b4. And my old friend Dave Vigorito used to do this all the time. Back in the 90s, I remember Dave beating John Curto, our local New England legend. I mean, the e3 setup looks harmless, but if you play very quickly on the queen side with a lot of expansion over there, it can be a pretty good King's Indian against the French reverse colors. So black has to be very accurate. b4 is not surprisingly the number one move. Now, white played instead bishop b5. That's certainly original. Looks like Asterbait against Asterbait. So bishop g5, giving us two options: ignore it or try to punish it directly. You know, if you play like c6 here, you gain a move, so to speak. I mean, I don't think there's any world where c6 isn't good, but on the other hand, it's not that flexible. You have other options you could play. Maybe c5 in one go. Leaving the bishop vulnerable, unprotected on b5 isn't really a bad option. I think that's the thing. I mean, a lot of times we might play c5 in one go. I mean, even like right away. To be honest, this is, you know, it's a move. The idea would be like if white takes, of course you have queen a5 check, knight c3, and then maybe we have something here with knight e4, although I'm skeptical because of queen d4. So I think it's too early, probably. Okay, bishop b5, strange move, and now bishop g7. Now I would say, you know, like you're threatening c5 if you want to, though again, not obligated to play that. We could just ignore the bishop on b5. The c5 thing, I mean, I'm a little bit used to playing that in the King's Indian, but this is a Dutch, and with the Dutch we're usually playing on the king side. So c5 doesn't necessarily fit into the standard plans. Standard plans are like d6, playing for e5, maybe d6, castles, knight c6, e5, or just no e5. But now the opponent plays this very strange move, knight e5. And that's definitely not good. A second mistake along the same lines of putting the pieces outside the pawn chain. So now it's like really tempting to play c6, but now bishop c4, attacking f7. And we can't play d6. So for me, the interesting move is castles. With castles, you're threatening d6, and you're just going to eject the knight. And on any kind of check, you have e6. And you're still going to eject the knight with d6. So I think the only question about castles, when you play the Dutch, when you castle, you commit to castling kingside, and white can try to like go crazy with, say, h4. Would that be, you know, even remotely sound? h4, d6. Bishop c4 check e6. I like this for black. You know, I don't think that white can do anything crazy. He's going to be losing a piece. So it's looking good for black. I think you should just castle. It's a very business-like approach here. But there's nothing wrong with the move you played. You know, knight c6 is fine. I don't care about you having double pawns. It's not a high priority here. You also get half a file. He gives up the bishop. I would I wouldn't know. You know, maybe better to take with the knight. Objectively, keep the better, more valuable piece. And then bishop d2. So a creative player. He's looking at a5. Frog chess. All right. Frog. The only problem is getting this knight off of e5 now. How are we going to get the knight off e5? How are we going to protect c6? Maybe we sack the pawn. Sack a pawn for a massive play on the light squares. It's an enterprising approach. I think that's plausible, but not, necessary. I mean, you could also just go bishop b7 and say bye-bye. I'll see you later. I think this is the most straightforward approach. He's given up his white square bishop. There's nothing he can do about the white squares. So, looks stupid for white. Asterbate goes here, but he doesn't solve the problem with the c6 pawn. And I also think that you're vulnerable to queen a4. And it's a kind of one-trick pony. I mean, if you play c4, what are you going to do? d6, knight takes c6. And he secures that. He secures that. And he can secure even the c4 pawn with the knight on a5. So I think this is bishop a6 is a mistake. It's a obvious move, but probably not the best. On the other hand, okay, bishop here, you have like c5. So I think looking to this diagonal instead of the obvious is probably best. As I said a minute ago, sacking this pawn is also most likely sound, strategically speaking. Although, again, not necessary. You could delay it. You could also just castle, and I like this too. And here, our plan is going to be, I think, queen e8. Now this could be a situation where the guy is a genius, and he has, like, bishop a5. But just bear with me for a second. Queen e8, bishop takes e7, d6, knight c4, bishop a6, or maybe bishop e6. I'm curious if this bishop is ever going to get out. Looks very odd, this whole position. Black has compensation at the very minimum. Anyway, okay, bishop a6, I think a lot of times in the Sicilian we do this, and it's not necessarily good. But this move, no, I think white has to play c4. He has to play c4. This is not optional. He has to make it possible for him to castle. He puts his pawns on light squares, which is good. He can follow up with b3, securing that pawn chain against your bishop on a6, so shutting down your bishop on a6. It makes sense. But this move, come on, now he can't castle. He'll have to play knight d3. He has to play knight d3. Asterbate, develop your freaking pieces. So get castled, follow up with queen e8, and then you got d6, g5, queen g6. It's the standard Dutch. This move, flash in the pan. Everyone saw knight e4. It doesn't do anything. Even getting his bishop on c3 isn't that great. It's not a very strong piece at this stage. Here, okay, castles, finally, thank you. Castles. Now, Asterbate, your number one strength is patience, right? White squares. Move 11, welcome. Guys, thanks for being here. Analysis stream. I've got 3 games so far. This is insane. I mean, this is really unnecessary and insane. And it works, but it's unnecessarily fancy, it looks like to me. So after d takes e5, I mean, how are we going to get this pawn back? We're not. Exactly. So you have to do something like take, and take in order to get your pawn back and reach what looks like ostensibly like an equal position. Maybe, yeah, it's about equal. But Astrobate, I think you've sold yourself down the river here. No reason to be so violent. Why not just d6, fluid? Another idea, and I think the key to the position is the white squares. Whenever you have a game where you have a light square bishop, the opponent doesn't have that bishop, that corresponding bishop. Another really nice move was Queen E8. And I just want to, I want to familiarize you with this maneuver. This is a very important maneuver in the Dutch. And especially this Leningrad Dutch. Also the King's Indian, which is a relative. But we're coming here. We're coming here. We're using those light squares that he doesn't have. He doesn't have a light square bishop. Color complex, very important. Welcome, guys. What's up? Have you seen my hype train? We've got 7,000 followers. No, not that many. How many followers do we have? 10,000. Yeah, we have 10,300. All right, where are they? I don't know. Queen E8, good move. This is insane. You're insane. And now this move. You know the problem with this move? You're not threatening anything. You know, you're just not threatening anything. It's all, what is that? All bark and no bite. All bark and no trousers. All teeth, no trousers. As the Brits say, what does that do? You know, what does that do? I mean, if your bishop is on b7, I can understand. Maybe if your bishop is on c8, I can understand. But what does this do? It's just insane. So, you could sack a pawn to try to open it up for your two bishops with d6. I mean, this looks interesting. You know, maybe. If we could get this type of situation where our bishops are very active in exchange for a pawn. Smoke and Mirror is a little different. The House of Fun. But I think being patient, Astrobate, should be your guiding philosophy, because you're not patient enough. You play like an animal. Okay, rook e1, getting out of the diagonal, understandable, and then c5. The little voices tell you what to play, I know. And this is a nice move because you might be planning a rearrangement of forces. But also, he doesn't have knight takes c5, knight takes c5, queen d5 check because of knight e6. Which is a nice little tactical point. He might fall for that. But instead places the queen on f3. Which is worse than your queen. This is like, please, Astrobate, play bishop b7. Because your bishop is extremely well placed on b7. Bishop b7, queen f4, and then get the hell out of there. That's what we should be doing right now, for sure. I don't want to be trading queens when I'm a pawn down. Queen f3, and now c4. I don't know. I don't know. This looks like a decent square for his knight. I'm not sure we gained a lot from that. And now bishop b7. And now he moves his knight back out of a good, off of a good square to attack your queen, forcing you away. This is okay. Maybe you're better off playing it safe. I like queen e7. You're better centralized. Queen h4 is just provoking. He's only going to go queen f4 probably. You're going to have to go back after that anyway. Now you took on d2, and you have nothing clear. So this is really strange. You're trading off your fantastic bishop on b7 for no concrete gain. You didn't get anything here. And now your pawns are bad. I mean, these pawns are all going to go. Check, queen c7. This pawn, I mean, basically all 4 of your queenside pawns are weak. And you have nothing really great to show for it. How the heck did you win in a few moves here? By the way, like, this is the last pawn I would take if I was white. It decentralizes the queen. It's also the least, like, valuable pawn. I mean, at least with c7, he would leave you with 2 Isolani, another weakness here. Stay more in the center. Or even queen d5 check. That's winning a piece. Whoops. So you lost a piece with this move, man. You don't have time to play rook b8. You had to play knight back. Wow. This is just totally not working. And now queen d5 check and you're still worse. So you're really lucky here. He submitted this game because of a cute mate, he said. Knight f3 check. Why doesn't the guy just take, though? You know? Okay. I don't think you're winning. You might have a draw. Maybe it'll be a draw if there's a perpetual check or something like this. I think a draw is about the best you could hope for here. Because you're down a pawn and it's about to be like multiple pawns. If white gives you a draw, that's a good result. But he goes king f1, giving you an exchange for no reason. Wow. I think you should just take the rook and be very thankful that he gave you a rook. But somehow white got mated. That's unbelievable. King e2, queen g4 check. And then f3. Oh my gosh. It was like helpmate. Unbelievable. And now, even now, he could get away. Although he'll be down a piece. Not your finest moment. And white really had to cooperate here. King c1. Now that rook is protected. Bishop h6. Oh my god. Alright. Not a good game, Masturbate. I mean, the opening was interesting, but your opponent just like hung all of his pieces. Alright. Very cute final mate, but it was like he was trying to lose. Horrible. Alright. Triple MC twist. That was a terrible game, man. I mean, that was a really terrible game. Yeah, bishop c5. I mean, you know, black's just totally winning. Black's been winning for, like, the last 6 moves. The point is, like, white was winning, and he took on b7, and black hangs a piece with rook b8. This position is clear advantage to white. It's very unclear to me, like, what compensation that black has for dropping, you know, probably a few of their queenside pawns. By the way, like, your queen probably should have been back on e7, where it was centralized. But ultimately, you know, here he's just up a piece after queen d5 check. Terrible finish. Okay, moving on now. That was not a good game. The opening was kind of interesting. All right, so Nefedov versus Beatles. Beatles like the group. This is a simul game. He's been unfaithful to us again. But there's a backstory to this game. So, and actually, Nefedov, you didn't realize a funny thing happened when we talked about this game after you played me on Sunday. There was a misunderstanding on my part about move, I think, 11 of the game. Move 11 is actually here with us, or was a minute ago. Guys, please subscribe and support the stream. Donate. Donate to our Albanian adventure. April 2026, I'm going to be playing in the World Senior Team Championship with USA comrades. We have to pay our own way because the U.S. Chess Federation is cheap as shit. So your donations support me going to the World Senior, playing Board 2 for USA 2. and hopefully we'll have a good result. Last time I played 2 years ago in Poland, and it was fun and a good tournament. I got to play some good players. So please donate and subscribe. Gift a subscription. Make a new friend. Just to clarify, Move 11 is not the same as Move 11. Exactly. And that's the problem. See, you got to Move 11 and you're like, it's something, you said something about Move 11. I'm like, yeah. And during the stream, I was sitting there like, yeah, I told Move 11 about it too. Move 11 is a person, not a move. But it is a move as well. But it's also a person. It's also like our founder, one of our founders. So you mentioned Move 11, and I'm like, oh, that's funny because Move 11 plays the same system as I do with Black, and we've even had game in this, and I've shown him my game with you as brother of Cheater, and I've even analyzed this sort of stuff with him. So during the game, when you said something about Move 11, I was like, yeah, he knows about this. Exactly. He's played this before. We've talked about it. You must have been like, what? You're sitting there like, you don't know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Move 11. You're talking about Move 11. So it's very confusing. But Nefyadov is white, and I'm usually playing black here. I do play the Marazzi sometimes with white. So G64, this is... I thought you had a game with Move 11. That's the point. You didn't have a game with Move 11. You had a game with Beatles, who's an IM, in a simul. You could have played Move 11 in one of our tournaments or something. That's what I thought was the case. That's what I thought you were saying. But it doesn't matter. Move 11, Beatles, whatever. Okay, you had a game with someone. This case, a stronger player. Move 11 is only like 2100. Alright, C takes D4, Knight takes D4, Knight C6. And now... I played this against you many times, as you know. And with Black. And you normally play Knight C3, Bishop E3. Oh, this is not a simul. I thought it was. This is a Blitz game. Blitz. I'm going to use a Russian pronunciation. Blitz. Blitz. I pronounce Blitz correctly in Russian. Blitz. So, okay, my bad. I assumed it was a simul. I'm sorry. So, it's a 3-minute with 0 increment. Wow. Not Nefyadov's time control specialty. Yeah, so normally you would play Knight C3, Bishop G7, Bishop E3, Knight F6, Queen D2, Bishop E2, all that stuff. And so I was surprised when I found out, you would play the Marazzi against me. Now, it's true you probably played a Marazzi or two against me. But you don't play this very often. Now, everyone should know how to play the Marazzi. It's a very important type of setup, structure, whatever. But, I played Nefyadov in the simul this line, and, I didn't think it was Nefyadov because he normally doesn't play the Marazzi. But he says very angrily, not angrily, but very, he said very, like, animately, it felt like that. He was online. I play many different things, or something like that, so he doesn't want to be reduced to just one variation. All right, Bishop E3, Knight F6, Knight C3, and now Black doesn't have to castle here, and I think there's an interesting caveat. Why, in what world would castles be the superior move for Black? No, seriously, like, say you're Black in this position. It's like almost impossible to play D5. B6 is a move with the double fianchetto. Why do we prefer playing castles to D6 ultimately? Because if castling queenside is a threat, then we can delay, we can delay castling. So in a vacuum, I think, like, okay, this is a known move. This is a special variation, a specific variation. But if you're not going to play knight g4 or something weird like b6, I would argue that, come to think of it, it's probably more logical to play d6. Because what's the downside? Like, I'll just ask this question this way. What's the advantage in castling for black here? Like, I don't think there is one, you know. What advantage is there to castling? Well, it gives Nefyadov the extra option to play f3 and castle queenside. But a very strange, and I did the same move order because it's so rare that white castles queenside. But it's so strange. If you look at the statistics, right? Can you guys see that on the screen? If I highlight f3, the statistics for white are horrible. You know, it's like f3. White has 25% wins, 32% draws, and 43% losses. Nick DeFermian told me you should protect pawns with pawns, but there may be a concrete problem with f3. That's the trick here. So I'm not sure. The jury is out on this. And I'll be honest, like I told you, I had a game with Juhas, what's his face? I can never remember the third brother's name, the youngest of three, and I don't remember the move order. You know, it's possible I played d6 first. I don't know. But after f3, black has queen b6 now, like a standard accelerated dragon trick. But I think we looked at this with the computer on Tuesday, and it's not so clear. d4 is overloaded, and there's no natural way to protect it. I'm getting a challenge, but we're not taking challenges today. So, can we defend this? Yeah, there's a remarkable move. Check this position out. This is wild. Very wild stuff. Alright, dude's banned. You're banned. Blocked, banned, whatever. You're annoying and you're distracting me. Stop distracting me. Pay attention. So, white failed to find the best move for white. I'm repeating white twice, sorry. The best move was failed 7 times in this position. 7 times no one found it. Because you're thinking, okay, math, how do I defend d4 again? You know, some people did this. That's retarded, you know. The Schiebler elves won easily after knight b5. Okay, knight b5 is retarded. Now, there is the young Hikaru variation with knight a4. Yasser Quesada Perez and Antonio Ferreira, who may or may not be a player who played on my stream and was accused of being a computer by some people. I think his account was banned. It's an odd thing that's a Portuguese master who, this is like 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago. He came on my stream, claimed he was him, and then somehow he got like banned from the site. His account got closed. But I think he might have been legit. You know, it wasn't me. I mean, anyways. So knight a4, it looks like it's kind of like a wash. You know, queen a5, go back, queen b6, draw. Or black can play for more. You did get queen a5 for free. Actually, that's a good move. So the only move for white that's good, it's never been played once here, is rook b1. Now, if Nefyadov finds that, I'll buy him a cigar. Okay, it defends the pawn. But what's the point? How is d4 defended? You know? How is d4 defended? Look. black is overloading us. It's 3 against 2. Is this like Risk? You get 3 dice, I get 2. You guys know the rules. Defender only gets 2. The attacker gets 3. That's not fair. Yeah, so what happens after knight takes e4? Exactly. So what's the point after knight takes e4? Well, there's a accelerated dragon trick, right? Knight d5. And I used to work with Roman Djigiashvili, and Roman would like to do stuff like sack his queen unsoundly. Larry Christensen loved to do that too. Larry would love to like sack 2 pieces for a queen and crush people in blitz. I don't see how black can sack a queen here. Well, the knight on e4 is hanging, so... Queen a5 check b4, this is a problem. Or is it? A2? Yeah, we have knight takes c6. We have some long variations. This isn't so clear, though. We have to take on e4. Okay. Now if you take here, knight e7 check, king h8. Oh, no, and then bishop takes is with check. So this wins a piece for white. The best you can do is b4, queen a5 check b4, knight takes b4. Rook takes b4. Now e6. And now knight b3. Anyway, it all boils down to black basically like dropping material in all variations. So how is it, Pavel? Close but still no cigar. So, no, rook b1 is good. And it refutes this tactic, apparently. And what is black's best move, then? Black doesn't have a tactic. It's unbelievable. How about knight g4, the old knight g4? That's got to be good, right? How could that not be good? So check this out. It's like a King's Indian. F takes, bishop takes, and then oops. This is where we have to sack our queen unsoundly. Bishop takes e3. Roman would love this. Yeah, Larry, Roman. Knight takes, take with the pawn. I got a pawn. No, it's only 2 pieces for a queen. Jeez. No, you need at least 2 pieces and a pawn. That's the Bronstein queen sack, right? 2 pieces and a pawn for the queen. This isn't even a pawn. It's amazing that black has as much comp as he does. It's like 1.3 advantage for white. So it's very funny. Like, the whole thing looks like it should be refuted, but there's no refutation. Queen b6, at the end of the day, black's best move is a mind-blowing knight e8. If you find that move, you're a computer. Anyone who played knight e8 here has to be an engine. That's an unbelievable move. That's an unbelievable move. And now knight f5, bishop takes c3 check, takes. Positional game. White is still better in all lines. So, Nefedov didn't know this, but f3 cannot be refuted by queen b6. The conclusion is queen b6, 7 games, black hasn't won a single game, white is better. Because no one could find rook b1. So there's no refutation to f3. My argument would be, let's play d6 first. If I play d6 first, now you play f3 anyway. Okay? Now it's black's turn. I have a question, though. What happens here if you try to do the same thing? Queen d2. Sorry. It's black's turn. Fuck. I don't want a castle. Do I want a castle? Castle? It's a transposition. No, it's not a transposition. Castles, queen d2, queen b6. No games. This doesn't make sense. What am I doing? So after f3, queen b6. Ah, all right. Now, let's take a look at this. What's the deal here? Jumabayev with a game back from 2017. I can't believe any of this. You coughed and your camera. Oh no! Did the cough do it? Just a coincidence. I inhaled some dust. Yeah, it's just a coincidence. I don't believe that. That's a conspiracy theory. That's a conspiracy theory. Properties. No, these are dry coughs. Not a lot of no, it's like dust in my lungs. I got like a sort of yesterday I had a sort of asthmatic reaction to inhaling some dust like stuff. So why is knight f5 so good here? Oh, because it's not defended. Okay, let's check it out. Someone else sacked a queen. Wow, so this is that bad. Queen takes b2, knight takes g7, check, king f8. And now there's a problem, Houston. Knight a4. No Roach Motel. Roaches get in. If the knight could be trapped, black would be fine. But you have bishop h6. And now obviously knight takes e4. And that's just pure desperation. This is just not going to work. King d2. Anyway, so there's no refuting this f3 stuff. So black can delay the inevitable, right? So I'm saying like knight c3, d6, f3 anyway. And now black's best bet is to delay castling. Don't let them trick you into castling and doing this bullshit Sam Shankland Nefedov attack. So bishop d7. Yeah, if they want to castle queenside, that's fine. Wow, another possibility. Where's move 11 when we need him? How come no one played bishop e6 here? An even better question. Well, anyway, this is something to explore for my next game with Nefedov. All right, we got a little bit of field. I wanted to just go into this, Nefedov, because it's interesting to me. We can go over your game now, okay? f3, castles f3, d6, queen d2. And now, I just want to show you guys something. Like how this position can be arrived at. d4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, bishop g7, e4, d6, f3. So Nefedov is playing, now he's playing, you know, the white side of the same-ish. Castles, bishop e3, c5, decline the pawn, black plays knight c6, queen d2, and now queen a5 is like the main move. Black also has e6, and of course c takes d. And so c takes d transposes to the position in question. So Nefedov is apparently playing the white side of the King's Indian, is what I'm trying to say, which is amazing. I don't know how he knows how to do that. He's played e4 all his life, but now he's playing the white side of the King's Indian. Okay, bishop e6. Smades. Dao Thien played this move back in 09. Gonda Laszlo, 2002. Interesting. So bishop e6 is interesting. And so bishop e6. But what Beatles did doesn't make tons of sense to me. The problem with Beatles, and I made the same mistake myself, is that the plan of like bishop d7, bishop c6 maybe doesn't make a ton of sense if white has played f3. When you go bishop d7, bishop c6, you're inducing white to play f3. But he's already played f3, so what's the fucking point? The bishop's better placed at e6, putting pressure on c4. Or, at a minimum, play knight takes d4. And move 11 was also talking about queen a5, but we can't do that until we play knight takes d4. So anyway, bishop d7, castle queenside, and this is we're getting to the critical move 11, right? Knight takes d4, bishop takes d4. Now the engine wants to play queen a5. I had the same game with Nefedov. I played a6 here with a new plan of b5. I think it's very, very logical. Here's a game where Leonid Yudazin was black. And it's just a little bit strange for me because Yudazin didn't play the King's Indian a ton, you know. And that's 2003. Yudazin runs some kind of chess club in New Jersey or something now. I don't know what he's doing. He was a world championship candidate. Really nice guy. I love him, you know. But very strange, you know, very eccentric. But someone here played bishop e6, tempo down. Alex Volodin against Firouzja, no less. But this is the young Firouzja back in 2018 when he was kind of breaking through. It doesn't make too much sense to move the bishop a second time. So Yudazin and some other guy, some Greek guy, played queen a5. This is supposedly the best move. Very typical plan of rook f c8 coming up. But the problem is our bishop is on the wrong square. It's supposed to be on e6 in these types of positions. So that's why I personally didn't play queen a5, because I don't really see the point. If our bishop's on d7, we need the bishop on d7, rook f c8 to attack c4. That's how it's supposed to work, like a Gurgenidze variation. But I think that what you have to realize here, and kind of, well, I guess what Volodin did, Black's already like kind of messed this up a little bit. So let's see, what's the point? Like, what's so great about queen a5? King b1, rook f c8. But here we do. We launched the Nefedov attack against Yudazin. Someone played bishop takes f6. This is like I want to draw against famous grandmaster. This is a weak move by white. Bishop takes f6. Extremely weak move. 2100 little kid, like trying to draw against Yudazin, who's, you know, getting up there. But I mean, obviously g4 looks like the right move. You know, even h4 I'm not sure about. Why not play it like you did? Wouldn't g4 be the best move? I mean, that's the plan, right? g4, h4, h5. Now, is there any problem with h4? Well, I mean, you do give black the ability to play h5 for what it's worth. So I'm going to go on a limb and say g4 is white's best move. It is. It is. My machine's pretty fast, and it's pretty sure. Oh, it's close. Well, b3, that's subtle. g4 is a tiny bit better than h4, though. All right. That's what I thought. Anyway, so he doesn't find it. He plays a5. Now, the interesting thing about this is that I've tried this before. And the plan here for Beatles, and I realized this in my own game like 5 years ago, it's just not very effective. You can do a5, a4, queen a5, but it's like, then what, you know? White could play maybe a3. I don't know. It's kind of slow, you know? The plan to me is very clear. You're pretending it's a normal Marazzi. You're playing the same plan. This spike doesn't really do that much. And so he's going to try to play a4, queen a5. But it doesn't necessarily do a whole lot, you know? So, I don't know. You know, is queen a5 the best move? There's another idea here. This is interesting. Rook c8 directly. We could try to just attack this like immediately. Let's take a look. King b1, bishop e6, b3. This is similar to what I tried to do. This might be a slightly better version of what I tried to do. Just the bishop's on a6 and e6 instead of d7. Yeah, black needs to do something. You better be fucking sure he does. I had this against the Juhas cheater brother. I mean, the brother of the cheater. One of the brothers of the cheaters. And I like won, but I was very, very lucky. It was 5 years ago, last round of an IM tournament. The kid was playing for an IM norm, and I killed it by killing him. Like penultimate round of the tournament, I think. My last round was like a prearranged draw. So for me, it was my last game, and I just had to beat the guy. I was almost lost, but I crushed him. I like checkmated him brutally after he hesitated. Yeah, that's interesting too. Okay, so check out what Beatles does. A5, G4. Nefedov doesn't even, he doesn't care. He doesn't even play King B1. He's like, okay, G4, what are you going to do? I probably would have considered playing H5. But now Beatles does something very strange. He plays bishop c6. Okay, so this is not about attacking e4, but about playing knight d7. But he's like playing like it's a normal Marazzi where you're castle kingside. So this is really bad for black. What I did against Nefedov was better. I tried at least to play actively. I played a6. Nefedov played g4. And what did I do? I did b5, rook b8. Now I don't remember. Did I play rook b8? Rook c8? Anyway, I tried to play with a6 and b5, but it's still not good enough for black. Player. Sparkle Horse says black. Yeah. So I played b5 right away. This is still not good enough. h4 and now h5 is dubious. But black is in trouble. Black is already in trouble. But what the guy does is even worse. I think this is even worse. Here, and then I think maybe this would be consistent to try to play queen a5. He plays that, and then that, and then that. But I don't think this is going to work, I mean, you're practically mating him already here. What he does, it's creative, but I don't believe in it. I don't believe it. First of all, Pavel, if I can call you Pavel, the normal strategy in the white side Marazzis is to avoid that exchange of bishops. It would seem strange to play this because it's inherently slow. But I do think that all the options are on the table militarily. We might invade Greenland with ground troops. Little green men are going to be popping up in Greenland. Wouldn't that be funny? After what happened in Ukraine, if little green men started popping up in Greenland, I think this is like Putin's fucking play, He should go for it. That would be hysterical. He should put little green men in Greenland before Trump takes over Greenland. To preempt him, Get him back for taking those oil tankers. Alright, so h4, knight d7 now. This is a consideration. But yeah, it looks good. Okay, take, and now watch this. h5, rook h8. Now, what does Leela do? Not Leela, but AlphaZero. Nefedov, h6 is like strategically winning. Right. But it's a 3-minute game. What's Nefedov supposed to do? If he plays h6, he doesn't checkmate black. He just has a space advantage, like a crushing space advantage, for the rest of black's natural life. But this is 100% what AlphaZero would do. You go h6 check. Guess what, bud? You have no rook. This is extremely strong for white. But naturally, yeah, you don't want to do that in a blitz game. So Pavel hesitates. He plays this move. I don't think this does anything. He honestly doesn't know what to do. H6 is winning. But it's a gradual sort of winning, And the IM is going to flag Nefedov. Queen d4 check. F6. Yeah, he can't go king g8, or it's not a good idea here. So now maybe we can lever him with g5. Okay, second best plan. H6 was winning, but I think this is good too. We leverage his structure, or lever his structure. But we don't really want to trade queens. Check. And now I see the point. So queen b6 is like a blunder. But ultimately, what is Beatles to do? He's lost. I wonder if he could have defended better though. H5, rook h8. Okay. Queen d4 check. Well, ultimately, I criticized Black for that move. I mean, is this really out of the question? It's not good. Yeah, maybe this is maybe it's as good as what happened. Okay. Check g5 here. Check, we win a clear pawn. King f7. So Nefedov wins a clear pawn, but he has to trade queens or whatever. H g6 check, h takes g, queen b6, knight b6. However, Nefedov drifts into an endgame where the title player has, good technique and a concrete plan. Watch what happened now. Take. Here, check. Pavel's only up one pawn, and Black has a dark square bind. And White's Marazzi bishop sucks. It sucks more than ICE. I guess you could make a case that Black has full compensation already. Based on the open file, the dark square control, the threat of like going on the 7th rank or 8th rank, depending on what White does. So something about trading queens wasn't good. Here. Opening that file. Why did you do that? Okay. First of all, you could just trade queens immediately. Now he takes with the knight, and then you take on e7. And this is nothing. He has an outside pawn. I suppose Nefedov's calculation was like he didn't want to leave Black with an outside pawn. It's still not that easy, but I think it would have been better than giving him the H file. But maybe your best bet here is to not trade queens. So what if the really best move is queen d2? Okay, we're not winning. He can play knight takes, and then White is better, but it's equal material. What's the evaluation? It's plus 1.8. It's pretty good. I mean, this is clear advantage to White, but we can't really say it's like winning. But what happened to Nefedov is a very classic story. He drifted into an endgame where he's up a pawn but has this horrible bishop. So here, I don't know what to do. Black has this threat, of like rook h2, g5, king e6, king e5. It's very easy for Black to play now. fe7, queen d4, rook d4, king takes, White wins the tempo. He wins the tempo with his rook on d4, though. I'm not sure having the rook on d4 is a good thing for White. It might even be worse. But here, now Nefedov actually has more time than his IM opponent. But knight d5 check, that sucks. That knight on b6 is bad. It needs to recirculate back to d7. So Pavel just reflexively plays knight d5 check here. I mean, what about... Well, you shouldn't lose under any circumstances. Like, you could probably play f4. I want to centralize the king, actually. Isn't this good? Well, there's a problem. Right, yeah, there's always a problem. Check. So how about king c2? I say, Nefedov, play king c2, offer a draw. King c2, rook h2 check, rook d2. Rook h1, bishop somewhere, and maybe like g5. But if you keep the knights on, and I mean you keep the two sets of minor pieces on, you're probably not going to lose. You know, I don't think you're going to lose. But the way you played it, where you gave him the straight up knight, good knight versus bad bishop, yeah, this is squeezing the... If you're a computer, you're going to hold here. But you're not a computer, you know. And that's the difference between computers and humans. Like, computers are very good at defending Marazzi positions with bad bishop. Against a human, I'm going to win most games here with black. Against a computer, I might lose or draw. What's the evaluation? 0.1. Exactly. Very hard to hold. Why not get all of our pawns on the wrong color, right? Let's be complete about this. So b3. He still has more time than the opponent, which is really surprising. But I don't think b3 helps anybody. And then it all falls apart. Now, black, you know, he didn't want to move his rook because of f4. So he locks f4. Again, this isn't a win for black. It's probably a draw. But again, it's like hard to play, you know. Easy for a computer. But right about here now, Pavel, don't you have f4? Nefedov got a little bit greedy, it looks like. You have 32 seconds, opponent has 49. You can liquidate your f-pawn, and you don't do it. You got to do this. You got to do f4. You're lucky you can do it. Now he stopped it. And now we go back to kind of like torture mode. Maybe white is okay objectively, but it's hard to play. And Nefedov lost on time. Alright. Anyway, interesting game. Mad NPC has sent in a game. Over the board game. No, very interesting stuff, Nefedov. That's important for my repertoire and Move 11. But I mean, I was surprised that you know about this, you know. It's not a very well-known concept of playing f3 and castling queenside in the Marazzi. All right. So next we have Sung Prism. Sung Prism, are you out there, guys? Gift subs. We're broke. I'm gonna have to start collecting plastic bottles. Come on. We got to go to Albania in April. And World Team Championship. Sung Prism is here? Sinus, did you submit a game? No. All right. So this is a game Sung Prism submitted this back before Christmas. Somebody's gonna submit donate a gift sub to Sung Prism because he doesn't have a sub. Sorry, we're not gonna be able to do your game. He's not a subscriber. Well, he was a subscriber when he sent in the game on December 24th. But I didn't have a stream that week. Asterbait gifting a tier 1 sub. I knew someone would come through. Asterbait can't do it all by himself. I don't know what happened to Mr. Slow, but he's not been here for a long time. Alright, e4. So Sung Prism is white. you're playing e4, black plays d6, you play d4, black plays knight f6, you play knight c3, and black plays g6. So a proper Pierce, proper hardcore music, and yeah, the Austrian attack, also proper. Black plays bishop g7, white plays knight f3, black castles, and then bishop d3. This is my first defense for black back in like 1980, 86. 85, 86. I used to play until... I played it from like, 80, 85 to 1990. 1991. The Pierce. I had some tough games when I started to play. Honestly, this opening is pretty good. When you start getting black against people like around master strength, I started to run into trouble. I had one particular opponent at the Boylston Chess Club, a couple of opponents at the Boylston Chess Club who were master level that I lost a couple of games against. Pierce is not easy. There was Pierce Alert, the Snake Oily published Chernin book, which was great. But Chernin is talking about a different variation. Chernin's line is c5, and this is, it's probably best. If you want to play the black side of the Pierce Alert is a good book. It's out of date. It's 20 years old, whatever. But the variation itself is one of black's most promising. I don't know where it stands these days, but there's a few Carlsen games there. Okay, so anyway, c5, very important move. And then it gets very sharp after that. But that wasn't known in the old days. Here there's another weird move, bishop e3. Anyway, bishop d3 main line. And I think Fischer played this variation with white. Go Chernin. I don't know. Nobody knows where he is. He married like a Hungarian wife, I think. Alright, so he's been missing in action for a long time. So now black plays c6, but that's not normal. You can't do c6 here. There are two moves for black. Knight a6 and knight c6, normally. I'm trying to remember the deal with c5. If black plays c5 late, how bad is it? This is supposed to be better for white. I suppose it's playable. Even c5 is playable. So knight a6, knight c6, or maybe c5. But c6 is too passive, and that's like, the way that black plays in the f3 variations. Where white castles queenside, you're playing like b5, queen a5, or in the what's it called, the classical variation with knight f3. But c6 here is just too slow. This is bad. I mean, the main thing is you're going to avalanche them with e5 at some point. I would think you could probably do it right away. You may or may not be familiar with like that line that Hikaru had played sometimes. The e5 directly. E5 directly is a well-known line. I thought black's supposed to play knight d7 and then h4. And I feel like we had this with somebody on the stream. It's a coffee house line for white, but extremely dangerous. Unless black knows exactly what they're doing. They have to know exactly what they're doing. I saw Hikaru destroy Smirin once in Foxwoods in 2006. Smirin didn't know it well enough. Yeah, the game's in there. 2005, my bad. I was there, 2005. That's funny, and Shirov would play the same line 2 years later. A little late there, bro. Shirov playing it a little bit late. So Smirin got caught not knowing what he was doing. And the other line is takes. And knight d5, but I don't think this is quite as good. Alright. Anyway, so that's another option, Sung Prism. But bishop d3 is the better move. This is dubious. So now I'm thinking okay, you can do e5 anyway. Black plays like an Alekhine with knight to d5. So castles is the main move. And I don't know. I wouldn't really call this like... I don't know what to call it. It's not really a standard variation. B5 is stupid. So it feels like black has to play bishop g4, but then you're like, well, what's the point, though? What does bishop g4 do? It like prevents e5. It looks like a 4 pawns attack King's Indian. Yeah, I mean, black just doesn't have enough counterplay. Funny, there's a couple of games here with queen b6. Rosendo Balinas, 1978. Probably dubious. Yeah, but that raises a question. So no one played here? No one but Kramnik. Actually, this is an interesting question as to whether it's better, not to castle queenside, but it's an interesting question whether it's better to play bishop e3 or castle. Anyways, so bishop g4 is probably best, and then you play bishop e3. It looks like a pribble. Okay, so the opponent plays this. This is a very strange move. And my opinion of this is that you never do this. If you live your whole life and you never put your queen on c7 in the King's Indian and the Pierts, you're probably doing all right. Like, if you go your whole life without ever playing that move in the King's Indian and Pierts, you'll probably be okay. It's just not really ever a very good move. The only opening where queen c7, like sometimes in the Benoni, but even there, relatively rarely, I think the only opening where queen c7 is actually a good move is like the Old Indian or something, because you simply have no other place to put it. But here, this is a traditionally like passive, bad Pierts move. The Boris Privman style. If move 11 is out there, he'll get my... Alright. Yeah, I had a game with Roland Schmaltz once in a classical Pierts, or no, that was a classical Pierts. This is an Austrian attack, but I did play f4 later. We had a similar game. This is a classic maneuver. I like what Tomilova did there. And this Austrian kid too. Queen e1 is fine. King h1 is another normal move. And now bishop e3, I'm not sure about, because at the end of the day, is this good? Yeah, probably annoying. So you probably want to play king h1 first. Queen e1 is good too. What did you do? You did queen e1. And now? Yeah, I mean, she's like begging you to play e5 here. I'm just looking at Tomilova, Suslova. So, but on the other hand, like, you don't have to do that. So I like both moves, e5 and queen h4. If you wait, maybe black can play e5. So like king h1, e5. Even that is probably fine for you. But I'm not really sure how to handle this tension. You can take and play f5 like a Dutch. Or it also reminds me of a f4 Najdorf. The last game I submitted was played in 2013. Oh yeah, a long time ago. I haven't changed a bit. Okay. So you went e5. Now, knight d5, presumably. Yeah, I mean... this sort of situation, when you make a capture with the pawns, I think you have to ask yourself, like, well, what is this pawn capture? How does this pawn capture affect my pieces, How does d takes e5 help black? Can somebody help me out here? Is it like hope chess? Like, you're hoping when it takes to the d pawn and maybe has some sort of check or something? Because this way clearly opens white's bishop on the c1, h6 diagonal. So I would say it's like absolutely like 99% downside and no upside. So if you're going to make a move, I guess it's better to just go knight d5. It doesn't look good, but I think that black is trading pieces maybe. Some threats of this. Like knight e4, knight there maybe. Oops, that hangs a piece. My bad. So knight e4. Actually, knight e4 is a very strong move because you have that covered. It is a very strong move. But okay, whatever. He has to do something. It's better than this. This only helps you. And now knight d5. Okay, so here you have a choice now. Lots of choices. Queen h4. Very strong. The move you chose in the game, which is probably a good move. And then the move I was mentioning with knight e4. This is also good because of b4 being covered. Basically all of the above. White has something like a plus 2 advantage. 1.8, 1.9. Oh, it's even bigger. I was closer on the first try, but if this is like Price is Right, I didn't go over. It's actually 2.5. I underestimated your advantage. I thought it was 1.9. It's 2.5. So you have a lot of strong moves. Queen h4. Very hard to decide. Even just simply taking is a huge advantage for white. I mean, that would at least just give you it improves his pawn, but it gives you like a tempo to build your attack. So anything is good for white. Well, I mean, e6 makes a lot of sense because you detonate his pawn structure, I'm expecting black to take. I mean, how bad is take? If your rooks were connected, I would say black is toast, like immediately. But maybe because of like queen takes king h8, this rook takes f1. But I mean, objectively, does it even matter, right? He has some crazy stuff like knight e5. Minor problem. Just a minor problem. Surprisingly, black went here. That knight is definitely not great, but black's bishop now, patrols this diagonal, giving him some defensive chances. So I don't care about this deal here. I mean, you should be focusing over here. What's going on over here? You're taking on f7. He takes with a rook. I mean, I think like, yeah, this pawn on e5. I mean, it's the space advantage that allows you to launch this like killer kingside attack. You say you didn't know the plan, but you knew to play queen e1. Which seems to me like is knowing the plan, actually. You know what I mean? It's like you kind of did know the plan, but then you hesitated and changed your mind. I mean, this standard Grand Prix attack type of thing looks pretty devastating. And what's he going to do? He's going to have to play f6. I'm pretty sure black's going to have to play f6. I mean, otherwise, it's g5-ville, You're going to get bishop h6, knight g5, and just like checkmate black on h7. So you're clearly better, but it's not an easy win. The other option is to increase your preponderance of pieces in the region, with like knight e4. I think still black might have to consider f6, as ugly as it is, to keep your pieces off of g5 and fight against your center. And he's lucky that he has a square for his knight. So this is debatable. Fine. Here, you have to take, and you didn't. But I don't see why you're taking on d5. You take here, he takes to the rook, you play like bishop d2. Or maybe not. Maybe queen h4. I don't know. But I could see you a little bit second-guessing yourself. There's this, you have knight g5. Looks very good. Don't care about double pawns. So I think that's simplest. Now, important thing is that you connect your rooks, because you need the other rook to come to recapture on f1 when you start to attack here. So this, you wanted to like keep a better pawn structure. Black could take with the pawn, obviously, but the knight gets closer to the king side in this way. Yeah, and now if you play queen h4, again, you're not connected, but you can meet knight f4 with knight g5. Alright, that's a problem. Shit. So notice what just happened here. The knight on f3, and that other variation I was talking about, takes, queen h4, knight f4. I was talking about this, but he has bishop takes d4 check. I had forgotten about this. It's not so simple. I still like white here. Knight g5 is winning. Okay. Here, check, king h1. He doesn't have a defense. Alright, doesn't matter. Knight takes d5, dubious. Okay, knight takes d5, e takes f7, rook takes f7, and now c3. So once again, if you play queen h4, threatening knight to g5, if he plays knight f4, you have this, and now bishop takes d4, check king h1. Same difference. Black is probably lost. Yeah. So he can't do that. So what is Black's defense after queen, queen h4? I think the most important feature of this move is by threatening knight g5, you prevent Black from playing knight f4. And you can continue with like bishop d2. Or bishop really anywhere. I mean bishop h6. So c3 is very, it's safe, but it's slow. One thing I was worried about was bishop f5. He could take out one of your like better attacking pieces with bishop f5. It looks like it just doesn't work though. So I mean, black has problems. He might, I don't know, he might be lost objectively here, close to lost. c3 slow, bishop g4. And I mean, I saw the game, I saw what happened, and it was very good for white. But this doesn't solve his problems. Again, maybe bishop f5 is worth considering. If he was to play bishop f5, maybe you should consider avoiding the exchange of bishops. Let's say bishop c4, b5, bishop b3. On the other hand, if you take, you have a very good pawn structure advantage. With this Isolani here. So bishop g4. What happened was very bad. Basically, Sung Prism got this like brilliant two bishops endgame. Gary Hertz, bishop f5, still knight g5. Yeah, maybe. Bishop f5 anyway, you can ignore it with knight to g5. This actually could be a little bit weird, like takes, rook takes, maybe this rook gets trapped. But I don't really see how that's going to happen. Wait as threats of queen e6. Yeah, so I think you're right, Knight g5 is strong anyway. So maybe black should play h6, that drops g6. Maybe black's position is basically really bad. He doesn't have a great move here. The best case scenario, I think the computer is like bishop d7. And then you probably play bishop d2. He doubles rooks. You're clearly better. So what happened is very good for white, though. Knight g5, rook f1, bishop takes f1, and now queen d7 protecting e6, and you just went h3. He goes bishop f5, and you trapped his bishop with g4. I mean, with the bishop on f1, you know, your king is safe, and there's really nothing that black can do. But he doesn't want this bishop to get taken out. Plays h6 and g6 f5. If bishop c2, it looks like it's trapped. Let's see, though. It's not so easy. Queen d2, bishop a4. This isn't so simple, you know. He has like bishop there. c4. Maybe it's not so easy. Because you have a Nefedov. Black has a Nefedov tactic. Queen takes d4 check. This is actually okay for black. Amazing variation. But let's see if he has something else. Queen f2. I didn't think that would be good because you're going to the file where you can play rook f8. Bishop a4. You have f7 immediately. Oh no. So queen f2 attacking and then f7. Yeah, so he can't save himself with bishop c2. He has to play this. You take on f5. Now you have two bishops. And I thought you were like winning here, but it doesn't look like it's the case. The computer doesn't believe it. So he goes wrong now. You made it look easy in the endgame because the queens got traded, right? He has to find a tough move, bishop f6. But I mean, you know, he only has like 2 or 3 moves to defend that pawn. So he played this. That looks okay. But now queen g3. And then after queen g6, bishop d3 with a huge initiative. And this is just lost. This is beautiful. 2 bishops and an extra passed pawn on the king side. Probably black in time pressure, you know. Weaker player, under pressure. If he's going to lose a pawn, he can't trade queens. But then again, he's facing a strong kingside tack as well. Kingside tack. Talk. This is actually a pretty bad exchange of queens. And now the passer is like devastating with 2 bishops. Do you give him any hope? Rook f3, rook f5. You know, I would think like in a vacuum, I would just go here and be like, dude, whatever. He played rook f5. So you got fancy with bishop e7, unnecessary. You don't want to play h4 though, because there's a chance he can trade off the bishops. You probably want to avoid that. You know, so just like playing safe is the way to go. This is way too fancy, bishop e7. Yeah, and you don't want to trade. You don't really want to trade bishops, but maybe your advantage is so big it doesn't matter. You're still a clear pawn up, and you're still better, but it's a rook pawn, which is not ideal. Yeah, I mean, this still looks very good. Second pawn is decisive. He can't be 2 pawns down. So after takes, rook here. He's got to find something else. I don't know what. Maybe it just can't be saved. I don't think it can be saved. It's 2 pawns. So this has to be winning. Rook f2 check. King g1. I don't know why you went to f1 rather than f3. Because seriously, king f3. You gotta stay more active. I mean, if you have a choice, I could see you might end up going here anyway. Knight d2 check king e1, but why not king f2? Yeah, this is a huge mistake. King f2, probably like easily winning. Allowing him this gives him a little bit of counterplay. You had this move though. Okay, that's it. It didn't matter. It didn't matter. I mean, it's hard to criticize black at that point. I don't know if you could save the game. You were better the whole game, but you let it, you know, slip in and out of like winning to clear advantage. But overall, good game. I mean, you outplayed him completely. Good job. We have any more games here? I got Mad NPC. Oh, wait. We had a game from Etan. Etan. Thanks for gifting a sub. Any other gift subs? Where is Etan's game? Con Sicilian. Here. Study. Alright. Gift subs. Gift subs to your enemies. But a good game overall. I like the Pierce Austrian attack, but you have to know a lot. You have to familiarize yourself with the C5 variation, Sun Prism, because that really is probably black's best. This line is very unusual that what he did there. You know, it's not really great. Okay, this is NPC. So NPC, I'm assuming this is from white. Non-player character. For those of you who don't know, very old reference. Going back to at least 80s, late 70s, 80s, Dungeons and Dragons. An NPC is a non-player character. Okay, everybody with video games knows that. But it's pre-video games. You know, it's original, like, role-playing game. Reference. E4, E5. Knight F3. Knight C6, Bishop B5, A6. Oh, no A6, D6. Yeah, I have a question, right? I'm playing online a lot, like random noobs, just when I can't sleep. And everybody plays the Philidor. Not the Philidor, the Steinitz. Is there a reason why everyone is playing the Steinitz against me? Because the Steinitz used to be like, nobody would play it. Nobody. You know, and I was thinking maybe there's some streamer out there, some kind of person promoting this opening. Yeah, beginners will tend to gravitate toward it. Exactly. Like, you think, okay, it's a threat. I'm gonna... Yeah, it's not a threat. I mean, you do get a lot of people playing the Philidor. Usually the people who play Knight C6 are a little bit of a better quality. It's a better move. And on Bishop B5, of course, black has a lot of different options. I mean, the A6, you know, the Steinitz deferred. They're calling this Morphe modern Steinitz. This Steinitz deferred. Is a bit better for black. I think this has been becoming more popular in the World Senior. Alonso played D4. Had a really nice game with it. can't remember. Was it this position? No, not this position. In this position, yeah. B5, bishop B3. This is an old gambit, but very interesting for white. I think I saw it in Bronstein. I was talking to Alonso Zapata at the World Senior about it, and I couldn't remember if I had seen this gambit, A, in Bronstein's 200 Open Games, or B, if maybe Fischer had played it. Either Fischer played it or it was mentioned in my 16 memorable games. I can't remember, but I definitely saw this gambit recommended in one of those old books. Camera again? Why it does that? Maybe I'm haunted. Properties. Yeah, it's something defective. No, I didn't cough on the camera. So anyway, D6. Now you played C3. So I've been playing D4 a lot on the stream. Some Prism. You can't take with Queen. Oh yeah, it's the Noah's Ark trap. This is Noah's Ark trap. Look at the victims here. Arizmendi beat a 2500, 2200, 2200. Fushijol managed to not win against Rono Mihai. Etan, why are you sending me another link? Is that the same one? Okay, D6, C3, Bishop G4. So, okay. I had somebody play F5 against me, didn't I? If you play C3 and black plays A6, and you play bishop A4, now they can do the siesta variation. So what are you going to do? I think there's a question about your move C3. But playing C3, you're allowing siesta variation. I mean, maybe it's not that bad, but you can't avoid it. I mean, what are you going to do? Go back to E2? I mean, bishop C4. Takes. Takes would be fine, but C3 is a waste of time. So this gets very sharp. After A6, bishop A4, F5, you have to know what you're doing. Then I think the theory there is probably not a joke. We had it once on the stream not long ago. I had no idea what I was doing. Yeah, so normally you play either D4 or castle. To play C3 right away, it's a bit unusual. Black played bishop G4 though. I don't really like bishop G4 ever. That's a bad move. And now castles. You have to watch out because Mamedyarov has done some weird stuff with like G5. But that's probably not going to work with bishop on G4. But again, I prefer H3. I don't see, like what he's going to do here. There's a variation where you castle and they play bishop G4 and you play H3 and they play H5, like in the exchange variation. If they're going to play bishop G4, you should play H3 before castling. Because they can't do any bullshit like H5 here, Yeah, it's always bad. So if you castle, they play, I don't know, bishop e7 or something. And if you go h3, they might have h5 there. So I don't know about this move order. There's 2 games and white is okay, but... So someone played bishop e7. That's the move I would wonder about. So if you play h3, can black play h5? Probably not. Not with this blocking the queen. So that's funny. Black doesn't have a good waiting move here. He doesn't really have a good waiting move. Wait a second. Why doesn't black have queen f6? It's just like an exchange variation. Nefedov would know this. So queen f6. Wouldn't that be right? Maybe you have queen a4. They can always go back, though. Funny. Yeah, queen f6 is like probably black's best move. Position is so rare, though. Naf had a game in 97. Yeah, see, queen f6, h3, h5. With a very crazy position. So I'm not really a fan of your move order, but it's obviously playable. Castles, black should play queen f6. He does knight f6. Now you can play h3. But if you do play h3 and they play bishop h5, you know, I don't know. So knight f6, wrong piece on f6. This looks interesting. I don't know how those other players, they can't find it. Oh, you can play bishop e2 if you want to. Very solid. So, okay. And now this is Caveman. Captain Caveman. Black is planning on castling queenside. Good luck with that. Yeah, now just d4. I think at this point you shouldn't fuck around with h3. They probably can't sack a piece, but they will try. But I think you should just play d4. And what's he gonna do? After that, a6 maybe. But let's calculate this for a second. d4, a6, bishop takes c6, queen takes c6, pawn takes e5. You know, if he takes here, you're clearly better. Okay, it's not like black is lost. You're better. And then if takes here, you can take with a knight. Bishop takes d1, knight takes c6. Maybe this isn't so ironclad, I don't know. You don't have to take on c6 either. I like d4. Okay, you played h3. Remember, there could be this g5 type stuff now. This prevents g5. But it's kind of quiet, you know, and now your opponent, I would expect they're going to try to castle queenside. It's not good. Mad NPC, rook e1, queen f6, bishop e2, blocking the e1 rook. Yeah, actually, Sinus, it's not so bad. Because, you know, it's a specific situation. Black's good bishop's on g4. Bringing his bishop back to e2, it does block his rook on e1. But the possible, like, exchange of that light square bishop for his light square bishop is actually very solid for white. I think it's fine. It's an option. Bishop e7. So black just played queen e7 to avoid double pawns. Kind of weird move. Here, this is an over the board game, by the way. Castles, okay. Now we're good. None of this crazy stuff with their castling queenside. You just have a standard position. a6, bishop a4, and now we transpose to Blomqvist when he was a kindergartner. Swedish grandmaster. I never met him. Okay. b5, bishop b3. Yeah, so normally we go bishop b3. You play bishop c2 here. And the question is why? Okay, this is an interesting debate because I don't think bishop c2 is that bad. But this is the more active square, obviously. And then you could say, well, I didn't want to give him knight a5 with tempo. Yeah, but the knight on a5 is on a bad square. It's misplaced on the side of the board. He loses control of the center. So you don't mind if he goes there, you know. And then you go back. And then black plays like c5 normally. But their knight's on the side of the board. So I think that's what you should do. Tavarish. Okay, Tavarish. Bishop c2. It's a move. Okay, fine. You know, but I like bishop e3 better. Here. And then knight g3. Now it's all downhill from here on out. Now it's like black is screwed. You're screwed. I've a million times I would prefer the bishop to be on b3. Yeah, but you want him to put his knight on a5. It doesn't matter. It's going to cost him time to get it back to the center. You're not losing anything, really. I think one of the points is, you know, when you go here, your knight is attacking e5, right? If he has to play this, and you go back, he can't play d5 because of this knight takes e5. Maybe in this specific position he could. But knight g3, you know, here, and you're just snapping the e5 pawn. The one thing I'm the most afraid of from white's perspective is black getting in d5. If black can get in d5. But if you play bishop b3, I'm not sure that black should play b5. I'm going to go out another tangent here. I had some games with people on the stream, like Arsenal fan, for example. Let's think about this logically for a second, right? In the Ruy Lopez or Spanish game with black plays a6 and b5 on the queen side, moving his pawns forward onto white squares. In a lot of cases, like the Zaitsev variation, but this bishop is over here on b7. Bishop on b7. Then it's okay, right? You weaken your pawns, they're on white squares, but they can be protected by the bishop that's on white squares in the vicinity. Or like it's on d7. Bishop on d7, it helps protect the pawn on b5. But I think this is one problem. You know, if you're going to play bishop g4, bishop h5, and you don't have the bishop over there, then you have no business really playing b5 in the first place, you know, objectively. His bishop is not in the zone to like protect those light squares that he needs to protect over there. It's in a completely wrong place. Over on h5, shut out of the game completely. So I think that black should try to find a way to play this position without even doing that. Like for example, maybe rook ae8. We have some funny plans. Queen c8. Another suggestion might be like bishop d8. Now this is annoying, and I understand he wants to get out of that pin. So anyway, okay, bishop c2. Now my only question is, like, can black play d5? This is my concern. And you're probably going to play like knight g3, black will go back, and then you're effectively playing like a whirl type of variation. If I take here, black can take with the queen. We actually transpose to a game. So anyway, I think this is just the kind of thing you should be thinking about when you're deciding to play bishop b3 or bishop c2. Is d5 going to be possible for the opponent? h6 is slow. And now he's fucked. Knight h4. And now you have everything. Over here, pointed over here, this, maybe out there. Even f4 type breaks later on. Not the main idea. Mainly we're going to f5 with our knight. This knight to f5, queen f3. You know, it looks very promising. Okay, so black recognizes that that bishop isn't worth saving. Probably a good realization. And he's trying to play like bishop g5. This is a good plan. If he can trade his bad bishop off, so let me go back one move. We don't really have another option. You know, I don't know. All right. Another possibility. Let's go back a minute though. Like, let's say you go here, he goes here. You play bishop c2, he plays c5. And one plan that I've implemented, which can be very good, is like a3. This is a Smyslov idea. Since the bishop's over here, what you actually can do is redeploy. You know, if he doesn't move away, let's say he plays another move, I don't know, rook c8, b4, knight c6, and then bishop b3. So you're able to get the bishop back to that diagonal again with the help of the pawn on b4, you know, controlling this. All right, so bishop c2, here, 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 and now here, and now here. This is a very good move by black, because this move might save him. Knight f5, and then bishop g5. Great exchange of pieces for black. What do? h4? He's trading darks for bishops. So you take... Well, do we want to do this? Or are you just... Do you want to take that bishop? Are you just bringing his knight back to the center? Or do you have something here? Because in a vacuum, I would prefer not to take, because this brings his knight boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. You know. I don't like the fact that he's getting to trade our bishop, but it looks like black also has threats of d5. So, I mean, like, going back, probably not very effective. How about, yeah, like, queen f3, bishop takes c1, rook takes c1, he's playing this anyway. Here's an idea for you. Like I said, maybe h4. The beauty of this move is that it would stop that crap, you know, with, this is interesting. But most likely black will play bishop takes c1, rook takes c1. But his knight is stuck on h7. And I think that white is better. So bishop takes g5, knight takes g5, and now d4. So this is a completely different plan of what I expected. But a nice move, because you just suddenly pointed out that this isn't going to fly. d4 refutes the idea of knight e6 by forking him with d5. It seems to be okay. And now the next move for black, well, I mean, if he's going to put his rook anywhere, I would think like there. Here. Doesn't do anything, you know? What does this do? Help me, somebody. Tell me what rook d8 does. Because I don't understand what it does. His rook is obstructed by his own pawn on d6. d5 is, I'm not sure it's a good idea for black. At least if he puts the rook on e8, he has some semblance of pressure on e4. I guess you have threats of h4 now anyway. Sending him back to h7. So if you play h4, he goes back. And then he can recirculate back here. But you have a promising position. Let's say queen f3. And you have these like tactics, like knight takes h6 and takes on f6 probably. So I don't know about this. This decision to play d5. I feel like you're releasing the tension. It's not terrible for white. But is it the right idea here? You know, I'm not really sold on it. But I have a very serious question now. Why wouldn't black play knight e7? Your knight on f5 is really strong. You got another one where that came from. So shouldn't he go here with knight e7? By the way, like you have a4 in any moment, you know, which is probably going to be a good move. Yeah, knight e7, queen e7, h4, but he goes back to here. Oh, you win a piece. Oh, fuck. Wow. Oh, no. Oh, no. You have that. Wow. Okay. So that's really very, very strong. I didn't see it. Yeah, so he's in trouble. So d5 stronger than I thought. Okay, I did not see the tactic. That's important. This is very important. Knight e7, take, and then h4. Oh. Black would have to like sack a piece for 2 pawns. I mean, knight takes e4. Knight takes e4, bishop takes e4, queen takes h4, bishop takes g6, f takes g6, and it's not enough. 2 pawns for a piece. So he goes to a5. This is obviously bad. b8 is bad as well. I don't mean to like I told you so, but if he had gone here, I told you so. Still h4. I mean, still d5. If knight d8, still knight e7 is bad. But he has knight d8. Not an uncommon idea. He's still getting trapped. Shit. Oh no, but okay, he can play bishop takes f5 in between move. It's not good. It's hard to say which is worse. I still don't like rook d8 almost in any situation. The rook is just never going to play here unless he's like playing d5. So this knight is doomed. Okay, he can go to c4. Maybe b3 for you. Black plays c6. Okay, maybe knight a5 isn't so bad. This is what Morales did against me. Right. So knight a5, and now what should white play? h4, bishop takes f5. No, h4, knight h7. I do not know what you should do here. But I do know one thing. I'm a caveman. I do know that you should be affecting a4 at some point because of what we talked about. The fact that you have a light square bishop as access to this square. The light squares are hard for a hand to protect. It's a classic weakness on the queen side. If he takes, it's bad. If he lets you take, you open the A file. If you can't push. It looks good, man. Honestly, you have everything under control. You have a lot of good moves, but I like this. If he plays like knight to c4, that's not a big deal. You could play anything, b3. I like a4 a lot. Let's see what the engine thinks. Oh, it's up there. Number one move. A4 is number one move. The exact variation I just showed. To be fair, the point is like you have everything under control. All you need to do now is like put more pressure on black. And your move is the third engine move. I didn't really feel how strong this is. He can take on f5, that's what he does. At least he gets rid of a strong knight. But okay, so there's rook e3, h4, f6, queen g4, the bishop on c2. So, like, everything is suddenly pointing at him. Maybe he has to play f6. He did. This is the ugliest move ever. But I think he probably has to do it. It's horrible. Obviously. But you have, like, a very strong bad bishop. This is better than Nefyadov's. Nefyadov's bad bishop. The good thing, when you have a Marazzi, and your pawns are on, like, c4 and e4, the bishop's pretty limited. But the Marazzi, when it's advanced up to, like, d5 and f5, then suddenly our Marazzi bishop is a little bit better. You know, we have all of this space now for the bad bishop to, like, influence. It's a very vastly superior bad bishop than in Nefyadov's Marazzi. b3. Speaking of Marazzi. And now, yeah, he should have played c6. I mean, I guess, you know, c6 makes some sense. But still, the white squares go. And now here's the question. Should the knight go to f7 or h7? Like, either way is horrible. I guess at least on h7 it can go back to, like, f8. Whereas on f7 it can only go to h8, which is even worse. Yeah, this move I expected. He needs to defend with, like, rook f7. He played rook g8. But you're not really, you never really initiated any play on the queen side. So if you play this, for example, be like looking at that, you can play c4 before a3. And I mean, like, you can maybe instigate some kind of second front. You know, if we talk about it in like war game, black's fucked. You know, he's fucked. I mean, it's this way. It's two sides. You're playing on both sides. You're playing on this side as well as that side. One side can be defended maybe like with brute force passive defense. That's Aliakhine, you know. Aliakhine would have loved this. So you're not playing on the queen side. That's the problem. It's a little one-dimensional. And now you decided to sort of go crazy with g4. Well, I mean, yeah, your position is so good that this is probably a free roll. You're sacking the exchange in a fantastic way, and you have objectively no losing chances. There is one little problem, f5 and queen takes h4. So yeah, you sealed that off. Now if I'm black in this position, I'm playing e4. Like, I guess you had probably seen this. When you have options of like queen e3, even rook e1 is interesting to go into an endgame where you're totally dominating black. I don't think, again, you have zero losing chances. Bishop f5, knight b7, now he's fried. Here again, black has to try to find an active defense. Whatever it takes. I mean, he has to try to activate. It looks like, you know, f5 is his only chance. Still. Still, I would think about it. Although now knight takes f5, you don't have this, but you can sack the exchange. You better be careful here. Maybe bishop e6 isn't necessary. You know, I think here you have time, but you need to batten down the hatches and not allow any kind of counterplay. You could go here right away. You could play rook e1. But I think you went a little bit too far. Sacking this exchange, this whole thing was not entirely necessary. And now b4, a5. Finally, black has some semblance of counterplay. a4 is interesting. a4 is interesting, and then you're right to be afraid of the a file opening, because ultimately, we could get a situation where his extra rook gets in the game. An open file isn't necessarily good when you only have one rook and he has two. Rook a8, exactly. So there goes the queenside play. It looks like black might be okay here. Again, like no winning chances, but you have to beat him somehow. And now I take it back. It looks like this is gonna kill him. He's too late now. So rook a3 wasn't necessary. But does he have anything else? Nah, it's probably too late. He has to try f5. This is like only move. So what's the evaluation after f5? g5. Oh my gosh. You probably saw that. G5. It doesn't work. So f5 doesn't work because of g5. And now defending that. And now obviously this is... But he has queen a7. He has queen a7. Very annoying move. So if g5, f takes g5, there's nothing there for you. You play queen e3 and he doesn't play queen e7. Are you kidding me? Dude, how are you going to beat this guy? Are you going to take his b5 pawn? So, here's the thing. Queen e3, he can play queen a7. You're going to have to take, are we serious, and play this and take his b5 pawn? This looks like what you have to do. You're going to have to win this with by winning that pawn. Queen c1, Gary with a good suggestion. Okay, I had a blind spot. I was just thinking queen d2, rook a2. Of course. You have a third square. You can go to c1. Okay. Yeah, that looks yeah, I missed it. Okay, you can try rook a8. But after knight takes h6, there's that stupid knight f7 check. It's over. So he has no time. He's lost. Rook a1. Yeah, okay. And so now you should just sack on h6. This rook takes thing doesn't matter. You like effectively gave him a tempo here. I mean, if you take on h6, he's probably dead. This gives him a tempo. I don't know what he can do with it. You also have queen b6, by the way. So it probably doesn't matter. Oh no. Oh my god. No way. Ah. Beautiful. Yeah, I didn't see it. That's why you didn't sack on h6 with the knight. Beautiful mate. Queen takes h6 check. Alright, great game. Let's see, last but not least we have a game from E-Man. All right, E-Man versus Rob Ram. E-Tan. Eatan. Oh, we're gonna see King's Indian. No, this is a Pierce. No, it's a King's Indian. Dude, that's water, not coffee. I thought my coffee was water. I thought my water was coffee. All right, great game, great game. No, a lot of interesting stuff though in that you can improve. But that's what's so cool about the Royal Paz. The closed Royal Paz is it's so you know, complex, strategically complex. So this is Eatan versus Rob Ram. Now, on knight c3, this depends on what you want to play. Your repertoire is important. Because if you play knight f3, you know, you obviously can't play the same-ish, certain variations. But knight c3 does allow black to play e5. And that's a variation, this Ukrainian variation I like a lot. It's objectively not dangerous, but a lot of players with white don't know how to handle it. The best move for white is knight f3. And I've tried playing e4. It's not really correct, but it's a fun line against unexperienced or inexperienced players. Ivanov tried to do it against me, and I beat him. But he didn't know that I played it myself with black, which was a big mistake. But there's nothing wrong with knight c3. It's fine. g6, e4. So we're playing a classical King's Indian. And now h3 right away. See, so if you want to play this variation, for example, your move order makes sense. You're playing a Makhaghanov system, a proper Makhaghanov system, where the knight isn't on f3. Now, it may go to f3, depending on what black does. Castle. And now there are 3 different variations. So bishop g5, bishop e3, and knight f3. Knight f3, you know, that was played against me by a guy in the New York Open, some German GM. I forget who it was now. But it's really akin to just a kind of Petrosian system. So this is, you know, this is more like the mainline way of playing it. Obviously, bishop g5 is also a move. You know, interesting question. If bishop e3, can black play c5? And I don't know much about this. It's similar to a Zaimish or well, so anyway, so c5. d5 is a Benoni. You're going to transpose the Benoni, and I think a lot of Makhaghanov players, they have to play the Makhaghanov setup against the Benoni as well. So d5 is fine. I would play d5. I'll go into the Benoni. Sometimes people will play like e5, but it's not a great check Benoni. b5, I've seen this played. We're going to transpose to a Benko. h3 is a useful move in the Benko. Bishop e3, probably not so much. So, looks like b5 is a good idea. You know, so going back, I would say maybe black, or rather white, shouldn't play d5 then because of the Benko. I don't know what the deal is with this. Where this stands. But anyway, c5 is a serious move. There's also knight on bd7. And I think Kasparov played that years ago. Pretty much everything's on the table. I've played c6, a6. With a6, you can sometimes play c5. You know, so there's so many different things that black can do. Obviously, e5 right away. I think that e5 is probably like black's worst variation, objectively. But maybe we're rethinking this. You know, maybe this is being rethunk. Because if e5, d5, and then I used to think that knight h5 was always bad. I guess immediately it's bad. So knight h5, g3. This particular version is good for white. Okay, so your opponent plays c6, and now you play knight f3. It looks like g4 is played. I don't know anything about this. And I don't like the names on the list there, nothing special. Decent players, but nobody great. g4 is experimental. I don't trust it. So, I would think that white could play bishop d3. Salem Salah, Akobian, Alexei Alexandrov. These guys are a little bit better. Bishop d3 is okay. The setup that I played with black a lot of times is a6, the Soltis system. Okay, knight f3 is important though. Knight f3 sort of secures our control of e5. Now if black tries to play a6, you might have e5 at some point. So let's say knight f3, a6, bishop d3, and if b5, e5. I don't know. And then knight e8. The computer says white is better. But I have experimented with this with black to try to avoid getting, a bad position. Salanci Hanfi, Salanci Hanfi 1993. Jesus. That's weird. Okay, so let's see. Knight f3, queen a5. That's a very strange move. Never seen it, and I don't want to see it again. That's a weird move. I did it in a similar position once. I did this Pranav Anand. I played that kid. I did this in this position here. How did this go? I can't remember what my opponent played now. G4. Yeah, I played this move. Same idea. My opponent played king f1. Alright, so anyway, an original idea, like queen a5. Here though, white seems to have pretty natural ways of defending. So knight d2, queen d2, bishop d3. It's hard to justify queen a5 with all those options on the table. It looks like queen a5 is bad. My example from that pseudo Gligorich variation, after g4 it's a much better try, but here every natural move for white here is reasonable. All of the above, bishop d3, queen d2, knight d2. Knight d2 played 4 times and white is 4-0 here. Yeah, queen a5 is dubious. So what black should play a6. I mean, this is normal. a6, bishop d3, b5, and now this is the question. Karpov, Mitan. Kamil Mitan is a friend of mine, and not a close friend, but we both hung out with Alexander Boykovich, who was like his mentor, and Mitan probably, got a lot of Alex's ideas. Looks like something that Boykovich would have picked up. No, this is the best way for black to go. The question is, what should white do? What did Karpov do? Karpov doesn't go e5. You could even play a3. Castles. This is Karpov Mitan 2007. Takes on c4. This strategy for black is a favorite of Grandmaster Roman Shinji too. It's not so easy for white to handle it if you play like d5, see? Someone even played this. Not as good though, apparently d5 is best. Alright, anyway, just an example of how black should probably try to play this position in a better way. So, queen a5 dubious, queen d2, and now e5. He doesn't do e5. Alright, he can play it next move. Bishop d3, e5. So, normally in the Makaganov, we're always playing d5. Is there a problem here, officer? Joe Gallagher recommended c5 as a book. I know Joe Gallagher recommended in different variation. That one I can't remember. The idea comes up in the same-ish. It comes up in the Averbach variation as well. This particular one in the Makaganov I couldn't remember. So interesting. Now I would expect d5. Is there some sort of problem here? Like black can get in b5 or something? Take b5. Shit. See, that's the drawback of queen d2. I can overload these pieces by threatening to take on e4. And that's ultimately why it may be inaccurate for white to play d5. So he castles. But now, you know, if you're Andy Soltis or Kavalek or someone who plays the King's Indian all their lives, you're fucking taking on d4. Zero chance of anything else. Unless you can make b5 work somehow. I think you're taking on d4. You're taking on d4 now. What's the problem here? In the King's Indian, white doesn't like taking with the bishop on d4. That's good against the Pierts. So that means we should take with the knight. But something about white's position looks a little bit artificial. I'm not sure that black can take advantage of it, though. Soltis would probably say, okay, put pressure on e4. Maybe knight e5 at some point. Let's say like rook e8. The engine thinks that white has a huge advantage here, plus 1.4. But it always thinks that against any kind of King's Indian. Let me check the Lichess Opening Explorer. Alright, I'm curious about this. This position must have occurred. Yeah. Only 292 times. So notice that black played e takes d4 in 100 plus games. I also would lean toward e takes d4. There are only a couple of options. You know, rook e8, e takes d4, and probably this knight h5, but you know, it doesn't look like black's even threatening anything here. I mean, I just don't think that black is actually threatening anything. So let's see what the computer recommends. Oh my god, the move he played. That's horrible. Queen c7 is disgusting. We already had this discussion once. Queen c7 is a computer move. That's really ugly. Wow. So I'm playing pawn takes pawn. I don't care. And white takes with the knight. This is best. And then knight e5, rook e8. I don't want my queen on c7 unless I have to. So let's say rook e8, rook a d1. And I just don't get this queen c7. You know, what is the fucking point? Why does black want to voluntarily play queen c7? Looks like we have to play knight e5. And now bishop e2. And here's a bunch of games. Like, for example, 2300. Can we try to do bishop e6? There's one game. Snoska Borovsky. And b3. See, this is the problem, though, you know. Black's playing a Soltis Kavalek setup, which is normally played against the Fianchetto. Yeah. Alright, anyway. I don't like this whole setup for black, but whatever. Going back to the game. Plays queen c7, that's the engine move. d5, also the engine move. And now a6. b4, looks good. c5. And this is like always horribly tedious for black. If you play c5 and e5 with your queen on c7 in a King's Indian, you're playing like a King's Indian sort of Benoni hybrid. But I call this queen on c7 the people under the stairs. You know, on the other hand, maybe white's setup isn't that great. Objectively, it's not so simple. So a3, and now knight h5, rook moves. This is where I would expect you to play a rook move. Rook b1 or rook c1. I mean, normally I think rook b1. There's a problem with knight f4 though. So maybe we have to do rook c1 so that on knight f4 we can chop chop. Though even here I think that black probably has compensation for the sacrificed pawn. I'm not sure. So maybe b4 was too early, knight e2. And now, you know, obviously you can play this here with black. The computer Saxon exchange, which I don't think is intuitive at all. That would take a strong player to evaluate this as good enough or not. But black plays f5. So e6 is gone. This knight on h5 is safe. Normally the queen is there lurking. Bishop h6 trading off black's bad bishop. You know, he has queen takes, but then the center would fall. Most importantly, after this, black wants to take with the queen on c5. So e takes f5, e4. Forking pieces. Looks like I'm watching like a computer game until white blunders here. But this point here, like b4, I think that white needs to play more prophylactically at this point. Now, if you want to be really crazy, you know, you could probably try g4. But this is a very double-edged move. You would stop knight h5, but allow possible h5 type ideas. That's a very aggressive sort of prophylaxis. What I was going to suggest was like rook fe1 with the idea of, you know, knight h5, bishop f1. So that if he tries to play knight f4, we can kick him out. So I think that's a very sensible approach. This b4 wasn't necessary. It's not necessary here. Absolutely not necessary. It's weird. Okay, c5, and now, you know, a3, and it's all a little bit too loose. After knight h5, looks like black's starting to get some play. This f5 is a serious issue. So here we have to be very careful. In the Makaganov, the idea of playing this type of move is always possible. But I just don't like this. This looks weak. I don't see how we're stopping f5. But what happened in the game is a very instructive thing. Like here, f5, like Ben Feingold says, always take, right? One of the only things he's right about, in most cases. Pawn takes pawn. Our bishop's getting trapped by f4. But maybe we have like knight to g5. This isn't so easy to meet this. So you need to be expecting this. But this is a bad strategic plan because we're trading off black's bad bishop for our good bishop. Now knight on df6. Trade. And so at this point, yeah, suddenly black seems like they're a computer or something. I suddenly feel like you're playing a computer. I don't know what to do with white. It looks like white is like without any plan. Apparently you still have knight g5, but I didn't see it. I was wondering how we can protect this pawn. You could play knight g5, and if h6, knight e6 check. How does this work? So it's not the point. You're supposed to take here. Like an impossible in-between move. Incredible. G takes f, knight e6 check. Pawn takes, bishop takes, pawn takes, e4. Extremely complicated position. Very hard to navigate that. But this exchange is not an exchange that white wants to make. This is very important that you don't normally do this. Because you're just trading off his bad bishop. Black is perfectly happy. And now there's no play for white. So now it's really dangerous. This seems to win a piece. So your idea was to play g4. Interesting. Okay. E takes f3. And now knight c3. Wow. So you actually don't lose a piece. Amazing. It looks like you're losing a piece. He could also take with a knight, by the way. No, in retrospect, I mean, knight takes, like, keeps better control of e6. So he plays king takes, e takes f5, and then e4. Amazing move now. g4. His knight is trapped. E takes f, knight c3. G takes f5, g takes h5, king h8. So what the heck is happening? Who's better? I don't even know. Wow. King h2 or king h1. You know, this way, this won't be protected. Rook g1, rook g1, rook g1. Black surrenders the open file there. Because I think white is threatening queen h6. It looks like white is better. Rook g1, queen e7. Threatening queen e5 check. Now you have queen h6 or queen g5. Bishop d7. Bishop takes f5, and white is now going to be facing rook g8. So this is the final straw. Unbelievable. So what if we just go here? Black will take and play like queen e5, which looks very promising for black, but it's actually okay. Wow, surprising. I thought we were worse here. The engine says white is better after h6, so the beat goes on. It's still not clear, but bishop takes f5 is a blunder. So this is just a one-move blunder. I assume a fast game. 300 plus 5. So 5 minutes. 5 plus 5. Bishop f5 loses to rook g8. And this is desperation. Now we're down a piece. Not enough play. That was a tough fight. Good game. Yeah, not easy to play the white side of Makaganov or any King's Indian. The King's Indian is a very difficult opening. Makaganov is a good system, but it's not easy to play with space, you know, and blitz especially. I think the black side is usually better. Space, King's Indian positions. There was a draw even near the end. Well, I mean, I think you were okay, you know, even near the end. Yeah. I don't know. It's going to be hard to be a draw, but okay. Takes, apparently. He takes back. You have a protected passer on d5 and rook g3. So you have to watch this rook g8 threat, that's all. This is a weird move, but it's nice that you can play that. And now his passed pawn is not going anywhere. Yeah, it's probably a draw. All right, guys, thanks for joining us. I've got to go. We're going to be back, try to be back tomorrow with some blitz challenges. And so every week, we're going to keep the schedule. Happy New Year, everybody. Thanks for your support. Don't forget to donate. Don't forget to donate. We're up to 430, but it's less than 20% of the way to April Fool's Goal. Thanks, everybody, for your support. And don't forget to subscribe and tell your friends about the stream, because we're still going to be doing this for another 20 years. It's like being sentenced to hell. No, I love you guys. Okay. Seriously. Sinus, be a subscriber. Become a subscriber. You're welcome, guys. Take care. Thanks all. Move 11. Happy New Year.